Hey everybody, this is Dissecting the Dead, and tonight we're dissecting Season 5, Episode 15 of The Walking Dead. Alright, wow, it's a very kind of slow developing episode, but once it did, it really took flight really fast. First off, I mean, we get in the cold opening, the light in the distance.
Yeah, the campfire that Daryl and Aaron see.
Yeah. And it took a while, but it was like 40 minutes or something like that before we finally found out what was going on over there. And it's the wolves. It's the wolves. And they've got a female tied to a tree, much like Carol threatened to do to Sam.
And what looked like a male that had been like drawn and quartered.
Yeah. Well, remember several episodes ago they had just the torsos that fell out of the back of a truck.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a method of attack that the wolves use.
Yeah, maybe.
Like I'm picturing like catapults throwing walker torsos over the wall.
Obviously, they've alluded to the wolves have attacked communities before. We kind of got the impression that they are the reason for Noah's community's downfall.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what their play is because they attacked these two people, but they cut one of them up and tied the other to a tree. I'm trying to figure them out. Are they just psychotic, or do they have a plan?
Is there a method behind the madness?
Yeah, is there a method? Exactly.
Because right now, it really just kind of seems like there's psychopaths out there.
Yeah, it really does.
There's a bunch of big things in this episode.
Yeah.
Sasha is still batshit.
Yeah, Sasha's still going a little crazy. She's just spiraling further and further
out of control.
Yeah.
It seems like they're building toward maybe a Sasha death.
Yeah, it does definitely feel like Sasha's going to die. Her character has gotten so much development, and she's got this amazing story, and it fits.
It feels almost like they're writing her into a corner with exactly how crazy she's going right now.
Yeah, she's going off on her own and hunting walkers.
If they don't end up killing her off, it's going to be really interesting to see how the writers deal with it and how they basically...
How she comes back from that.
Yeah, because she's kind of in a pickle right now as from a creative standpoint as a character.
Yeah.
How do you bring that character back as a writer? That'll be fun to watch if they're able to do it.
Definitely.
We see a little bit of Nick.
Yes.
And he is full on lying to Deanna about what happened at the warehouse.
Of course. He's lying to make himself look better.
And
like
it doesn't look like she interviewed Glenn at all.
No, it doesn't. It looks like she left Glenn up to Rick, which is kind of
it's a
weird.
Very bad decision.
Yeah,
she should talk to him.
she really should. Unless they just haven't shown that part of the interview yet. Because they also didn't really let us know if Deanna believed Nicholas or not. And she's supposed to be this really, really good judge of people and be able to read people really well. Is she really, or does she just fluff herself up?
It certainly seems like she can't judge people as well as she thinks she can.
Yeah, I think she kind of thinks she's better at it than she actually is.
She seems
I think I don't know.
She's incompetent.
Yeah. Just like the entire community. The entire community is incompetent.
Yeah.
But she seems like you can't really tell just looking at her if she
felt
did
like,
or not.
I forget what exactly she said, but it seems like she might have smelled a little bit of bullshit.
Yeah.
In
like, I'm sure she knows that he's exaggerating a little bit. She imagines both sides of the story, they're both going to exaggerate a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case. Glenn's out in the real world.
Telling exactly
he's like,
happened.
This is what happened. End of story. And the other guy...
Jesse and Pete. There was this theory going around the internet that Jesse was the one who was the abuser, which would have been an interesting direction to take, and we found out that was completely false. It
would have been a really interesting take on the situation. However, I kind of knew that wasn't happening because they didn't really set her up as the abuser.
Right.
She had all of the trademark characteristics of the
abused spouse.
Yeah, the abused spouse. Yeah, she had victim written all over her, like from the get-go. So yeah, it would have been an interesting twist. But they didn't write it that way to begin with, so it was always Pete.
Porch dick right off the bat.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that guy's beating Jesse. You just kind of know. Even if you haven't read the comics, you know Pete's beating Jesse.
Yeah.
The first time you see him.
There's one scene where Pete's walking by Rick and he says hi, and Rick's just like, keep walking, and gives him the death glare. And yeah, Rick is scary. Like, he is scary as shit in that scene. However, it's out of character for an abuser to just walk away from a straight up challenge like that. And it even proved it later on when they got into their fist fight. Like, he didn't walk away then. He shouldn't have walked away before. He should have at least had some sort of verbal comeback, if it wasn't physical.
Right.
It just seemed out of character. I don't know. Maybe that's me just reading too much into it.
I can see where you're coming from. Like, at first, I was like, all right, you know, abusers, in my mind, would be typically cowards. Pete's cowardice was coming out in that scene, but then he full-on stepped up to Rick when Rick was, maybe it's, you know, the comfort of being in his home or whatever. I'm not really sure, but it did seem like Pete was written a little unevenly.
Yeah, he was very uneven. I think Pete might die next episode in the season finale.
I think it's going to be Carol. I think Carol's going to put him down.
Yeah,
like the dog he is,
yes.
that motherfucker. Right, and Rick full-on, he tells Deanna, like, look, Pete's beating her, and Deanna's like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, she's totally nonchalant about it, which you wouldn't expect from a female, first of all.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't expect from the leader of a community, second of all.
One, she doesn't have a police force, and two, they need a surgeon. He's helpful. Whereas Rick comes in, he's like, we haven't even had a doctor in the last however many years out in the wild.
They had a veterinarian.
Yeah, they had a veterinarian, and that's been it. And they've been fun. They're like, it's not necessary. You don't need this guy. And just because he's got a certain set of skills does not give him leave to do whatever he wants.
Right.
And that's what she's saying is that, well, he's a surgeon. We can't do anything about it. And he's like, no, yes, you can.
You know, we always said early on in the series, Shane was right. And, you know, in this scenario, it's Rick is right.
Yeah, Rick is totally Shane. This episode especially, Rick felt like Shane quite a bit. Not crazy Shane, but Shane who was right.
he was, well, like Shane right before he went full
Shane
crazy.
Right before he went full crazy, yes. Yeah. Glenn, kind of, when he was talking to Rick about what happened out there, also kind of reiterated that they needed to make this work. And I think, if you guys watch Talking Dead, Glenn had said that, or Steven had said that when Noah said, don't let go, he wasn't referring to himself. It was telling him, don't let go of this community. Right. Don't let go. Don't let my death tear you guys apart. And I think Glenn got that message. Like, it came across in this episode that Glenn got that message.
Yeah.
And
especially with the way he confronted Nicholas.
Yes, speaking of Glenn.
He's like, you're not allowed to go outside the walls anymore. He's like, I'm not threatening you, I'm saving you.
Basically, what I got from that is he's telling him, don't go outside the walls. And the guy's like, well, what are you going to do if I do? And he's like, I'll let you go and you'll die. There is no threat. There is no threat. If you go outside, you're not taking anybody. You're certainly not taking my people, and you will die.
We also saw Carl and Enid have a very bonding moment.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I've had bad things happen to me. And Carl's like, so have I. Let's go cuddle in a tree.
Well, the little walker horde kind of helped the cuddle in the tree aspect.
Yeah.
And they definitely had a moment. When she told Carl previously that she was afraid of him, I was kind of wondering if it's, this is their first crush probably. They've probably weren't really old enough for stuff like that before the turn. And so I was kind of wondering, is she really like afraid of him, or is it she's got a thing for him and she just hasn't felt it before and doesn't know what it is, and so she's just attributing it to fear.
Of course it's scary because, first love during the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
You don't know what terrifying. Necessarily to make of a person.
Yeah.
So
they really don't know each other. Yeah.
Loads of foreshadowing for the wolves.
Yes.
Walkers with the W on their foreheads all over the place this episode.
And even before then, when Aaron and Daryl saw the campfire, Aaron had said there's more walkers in the area than there used to be. That right there was foreshadowing. And then we see all these W's and we see what happens to the people with the campfire.
I really think it might be the way they did Terminus, where it was this build-up to this confrontation, and then they finished it in the season premiere. They finished it in one episode. Yeah. I think it might be the same way. It's going to be this build-up to this confrontation with this wolves group, and then it's going to finish right away.
Since they're doing a 90-minute episode next week, I think it's going to be introduction of the wolves, the confrontation, and the resolution of it.
We've had a lot of speculation about who's going to die, because there's going to be character deaths in the season finale. A lot of people seem to think it's going to be Daryl.
We disagree.
I disagree with this very much so.
Especially after this episode.
Because the last 2 episodes, Norman Reedus, Daryl, has gotten almost no screen time.
Yeah.
And he's the most popular character on the most popular show on television. You don't give him no screen time
And then kill him.
off.
Yeah.
I think that would be running a major risk with...
Besides killing him off in general is a major risk, killing him off right after 2 episodes of basically zero Daryl is an even bigger risk.
Yeah. If Daryl goes, it has to be a big build-up, and you have to make the fan base okay with it.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be okay with it after having such little amount of Daryl.
Yeah, because he was barely in this episode.
Yeah.
And he was in there all of 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes of screen time, 5
And the
tops.
previous episode, what, 30 seconds in the beginning?
Maybe. He rode off on his motorcycle,
Yeah.
that was it.
So there's just no way.
Norman said, bring your Kleenex. Norman just doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would tease his own character's death. When he's saying bring your Kleenex, he's talking about something else.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that could happen that could be heart-wrenching.
Tara. It seems like Tara's going to be okay. They mention it in a single line of dialogue in the very beginning of the episode.
5 seconds.
Yeah. That, she's in stable condition.
I don't see her dying now, which I'm really happy with because I was kind of interested in what they were going to do. And since she wasn't in this episode at all, barely mentioned, I don't see her dying next episode. I think she pulls through. So, getting back to Sasha and her craziness and Michonne and Rosita going out there, that had a lot of inner character development for Michonne, which is really nice because they've kind of thrown Michonne on a back burner. She hasn't been getting much.
They've neglected the character a lot.
Yeah, they've really neglected her character. But when she's out there with Sasha, she starts having these flashbacks about when she went postal and just started killing with her sword. And I think she just had, just being around Sasha is kind of bad for her. And Michonne, on the way there with Rosita, was already kind of expressing how she's kind of feeling weak. I don't think she wanted the safeness of Alexandria. She pushed so hard to get here, and now she's here and she's unsure.
She's having a little bit of buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
But then you could see kind of a transition there at the very end of the episode after Rick is done.
Yeah.
Rick is almost killing Pete, and Michonne jumps in.
Rick lost it.
Yeah.
Rick lost it. He lost his mind. But it's the adrenaline. He was just beating up on this guy. Who started it? I mean, you can't really blame him, but Rick lost it, and
Michonne comes in and knocks Rick out, but she's in her police uniform.
Yes.
So she's accepting her role now in the community.
Yeah.
Whereas in the very beginning, she had her police uniform laid out and then didn't put it on when they went to go look for Sasha.
I think she's kind of having some inner turmoil. She's not sure if she wants this community, and she's not sure that she doesn't want it either. And that's finally something interesting. Give us some more Michonne story. I want to know what's going on with her.
I think at the very end, she made that transition, that personal decision that she's going to give it her best shot in this community. And that's why she went in and knocked Rick out, got him off of Pete, and she was in her police uniform. She's like, you know what? I'm going to give it my best shot.
She needed to stop Rick. Rick was very detrimental to the group at that point. There's more Alexandrians than there are them. They need to play their cards smartly, and Rick kind of lost it on that adrenaline rush. So Michonne did the right thing, in my opinion. I think she did the right thing in knocking him out to kind of save the group, saying like, hey, look, we see he's kind of a little nuts here. Let's let him cool down.
Be sure and comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts, your theories. If you would disagree with anything we have to say, we would love to hear from you.
We want to hear it. What do you think some of the things that happened in this episode that we talked about? What do you think those mean? Did we miss something?
Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.